Welcome to the fourth video in the series, migrating from Windows Server 2003 to Windows Server 2012. So this one's going to look at DHCP migration. As always, my name is Paul Gregory. Please feel free to contact me through email paul.gregory@qa.com or on Twitter paul_l_gregory, or please feel free to watch any of my other YouTube videos. So just a quick recap. Obviously video 1, if you've not seen it, just gives you a quick introduction to the environment that I'm using. Videos 2 and 3 are about Active Directory migration, and the video after this is about file server migration. And again, video 1 goes into more detail here, but we're just focused on the migration of the DHCP role from QADC02 across to QADC04. And obviously we'll be using the workstation here to confirm that the IP configuration has migrated and clients are still getting IP addresses. So as you can see, we've got my Windows 7 client on the desktop here. So the first thing we need to do is we need to just confirm that this machine is a DHCP client. So we just do a simple open a command prompt and actually just confirm the IP address of 10.10.0.11 as the DHCP server address for the particular client. So if we just look at our 2012 box that we're going to be a DHCP server, we'll see a few things, but basically this machine isn't a DHCP server. So just by running a few commands to start with, the first thing we will confirm is that the migration tools are not available. So actually trying to access the migration tools, we get no commands back. So by using the add-ps snap-in and actually adding the snap-in microsoft.windows.servermanager.migration, this will load in the migration tools. So as you'll see, we'll now see that we have the migration tools available to us. Specifically, we're obviously going to be interested on the import tool on this machine, but we'll also need to use the export tool, obviously, on the 2012 machine. So we've opened a PowerShell prompt on the Windows Server 2003 machine, and we're just CDing into the folder that's got the migration tools, and we're going to run the smig deploy.exe to actually go and initialize the tools. So this will install the tools, but it's basically install the snap-in, and in our case it will actually open a PowerShell prompt which will load all the tools for us. So again, if we use the get command utility, we should be able to see the migration tools are available for us. So we've got our live DHCP server that's currently running, servicing our clients. We've got our destination machine that's DHCP server, which effectively has or doesn't even have DHCP installed at this moment. So we're going to use the export smig server setting utility, and we're really interested in the feature ID command line utility, which allows us to identify the feature we want to export. You can export more than one feature if you want to. You'll also notice there's an IP config parameter that would actually allow you to export the hardware configuration if you want. So just in case we was curious, by using the get-smig server feature, you can see this allows us to see which features are actually installed and available for export on this machine. So actually the npas ras and the DHCP service. So again, we can see DHCP servers up, we can see that it's running, we can see the option configurations, etc, etc, and there's the lease for our client. So let's use the export utility to actually export the configuration. So this will save the configuration into a file. So we use the -feature ID parameter, and we just use DHCP obviously as the feature name. When we run this command, it will actually go and create a file for us which it wants to secure. So the contents of this file will be encrypted. So we will be prompted for a password for the file that we're about to actually go and create. So we'll just specify the destination folder. You don't specify the file name, the system does that automatically. And you could actually export more than one feature in one go if you wanted to. So you can see that we've specified the password and we're now exporting the DHCP data. This shouldn't take too long. So we can see the export has now been successful with the true underneath the success column. If we was to go into the migration data folder and just do a dir, we'll quite clearly see the svr.mig folder or file. So we can see on our 2012 box, no DHCP installed. So what we're just going to do is use Explorer quite quickly, just to actually go and copy the migration folder across. So we'll just take a whole copy of that migration data folder and paste it onto the local disk of the new DHCP server, just to save us having to worry about network paths and those sort of things. So again, if we just use the get help utility and actually use the import smig server setting command, we can actually see here that as well as being able to specify the password, the path to read, you can also specify things like the feature ID information as well. Again, this utility will allow you to specify any combination of features you want. So you could have an export file that has 10 features in it and you only want to import 1 or 2 of them. So the system will allow you to be selective about what you want to export. So you can consolidate features from several machines onto one, or you could actually have one machine that's performing a number of functions and actually deliver those features to a range of different systems. So we're just telling it to import the DHCP function, and we just entered the password. So this is actually now going to do 2 things. The first thing it's going to do is it's actually going to import, it's actually going to install DHCP and then import the configuration. Now you can see on the source DHCP server very quickly, DHCP is no longer running. So effectively the export process has actually taken that DHCP server offline. Hopefully this shouldn't take no more than a few seconds to complete the process. So we can see that DHCP server installation is complete, and we can see the Windows feature has been configured as well. So despite the fact we've actually imported the configuration, DHCP is not enabled. So you can see it's there listed in Server Manager. If I was to go into the DHCP Management Console, we can actually see, when we look at the status of the DHCP server itself, basically it's sort of offline. So effectively the DHCP service hasn't been initialized, it hasn't been started. So that's the effectively the next step. So whether you were to go and use the graphical tool, so actually go into services and go and configure DHCP server to start, or whether you were to go and use the PowerShell command prompt and go and, for example, use the command start-service to actually go and start the DHCP service. Obviously it's entirely up to you. There are obviously more than one way to actually achieve the results. Small typing mistake there, apologise for that. So start-service DHCP server, and we can see that obviously the DHCP service hopefully starts successfully. Having completed the DHCP service start, if we go into the DHCP console, we will now see that the DHCP service is now running, but at this point DHCP is not authorized. So we still need to go through the standard authorization procedure. Again, we could complete this procedure using the graphical tool, so I could literally just right click, being a member of the right groups, I could authorize the DHCP server. Alternatively, I could use PowerShell again. And one of the things I just want to highlight here is actually by using PowerShell, we could do a get hyphen command and search for all the commands that have DHCP in them, and then we would find about this command add hyphen DHCP server in DC. So we can see this is the command that we use for actually authorizing a DHCP server. So I'm just going to use the add hyphen DHCP server in DC, and you've got to specify the DNS name for the dynamic host configuration protocol server, and I need to specify the machine's IP address. So obviously QADC04 is the new DHCP server, and its IP address is 10.10.0.21. So we'll go and run that command. Now, like all PowerShell commands, as well as having commands to configure, there's commands to allow you to view the configuration, as well as obviously to delete configurations. So if I was to use the get DHCP server in DC command, you can see both the old and the new DHCP servers are authorized. Okay, and just to show you graphically, the new DHCP servers seems to be online. Obviously the client's not woken up and got an IP address yet, but all the configurations there. So let's unauthorize the old DHCP server. So the idea here, we would use the remove DHCP server command to actually go and remove that particular DHCP server, or the original DHCP server. So the remove hyphen DHCP server in DC command. So there we go, and again just minus and then the DNS name, so qadc02.qal.com, and obviously the IP address, so minus IP address and 10.10.0.11. So that would remove that server from being an authorized DHCP server. So hopefully we've now migrated our entire configuration across. Obviously the real proof of the pudding, as always with these things, is does it actually work? Can a client get an IP address? So really that's what we just need to do, is we need to confirm by going back to our workstation machine that we do actually have an IP address. So when I do an ipconfig/all, we can still see we have the old IP address for the DHCP server, because the machine hasn't woken up, it hasn't tried to renew its IP address. So normally you'd be performing these actions out of hours, so people switch their machines on in the morning and they would get a new IP address when they switch them on from the new DHCP server. So we'll just release the old IP address and obviously hit the renew option. So you can see now that we have an IP address, so obviously some DHCP servers allocated an address to us, and you can see that the DHCP server address is now the 10.10.0.21 address. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you found it very informative on how to migrate DHCP from a previous platform to 2012. You could use these principles for 2003 as well as 2008. As always, please feel free to keep in touch, paul.gregory@qa.com, or via Twitter, Paul L. Gregory, or please watch the other videos in the series on my YouTube channel as well as many other videos. Thank you very much.